everyone, today I'm going to be giving my belated review of Taylor Swift's 1989 Taylor's version, and let's get into it. So the first track on this album is going to be Welcome to New York. Now, the Taylor's version of the song has actually grown on me quite a bit. At first, whenever I listened to it, I felt like the higher harmonies on the song weren't loud enough, but after listening to it more, I'm like, no, I don't think that was accurate. And I love the new production. I think it sounds great. Vocals in here are top notch. I love the lyrics and the sentiment of the song. I just think that this is a really fun song, super refreshing, and I just really appreciate it as an opener. Probably one of her more underrated openers, to be honest. I feel like the Taylor's version made me appreciate it more, and I would love to go to New York one day. I've never been. Regarding the song in 2014, she says, I wanted to start the album with this song because New York has been an important landscape and location for the story of my life in the last couple of years. I dreamt over moving to New York. I obsessed over moving to New York, and then I did it. And the inspiration that I found in that city is kind of hard to describe and hard to compare to any other force of inspiration I've ever experienced in my life. It's an electric city, and I approached moving there with such wide-eyed optimism and sort of saw it as a place of endless potential and possibilities, and you can kind of hear that reflected in this music and in this first song especially. I first discovered that I was in love with performing. I wanted to be in theater, so growing up, New York City was where I would come for auditions. Then I started taking voice lessons in the city. So my mom and I would drive 2 hours and have these adventures. I actually have a photo of my first Knicks game. I was 12 years old and I was in a halftime talent competition, but I didn't win because the kid who won sang New York, New York. And I was like, here's a song I wrote about a boy in my class. I'm as optimistic and enthusiastic about New York as I am about the state of the music industry, and a lot of people aren't optimistic about those two things. And if they're not in that place in their life, they're not going to relate to what I have to say. And now onto track 2, Blank Space. So this song is a smash hit for a reason. I think the songwriting on here is super smart. I just really appreciate the production on the song and like the vocals, and it's just a really fun track. I read somewhere that she was deciding between this or Slut as the lead single for the album. She 1000% made the right choice. I'll talk about my thoughts on Slut later, but yeah, this was definitely bound to be hit in my opinion. So going into this new Taylor's version, definitely anxious about it, I will say. I heard the snippet, I was like, this sounds off, let me hear the whole thing and see what it's giving. And so I feel like the vocal inflections are off on specific parts, like whenever she says, I can make the bad guys good for a weekend. Also whenever she says, darling, I'm a nightmare just like a daydream. Like, it's just ever so slightly off, and that is something that kind of bothers me all the way throughout the song. And the song just feels off in general to me. It's something that I've been able to get used to, but I think that the original reigns superior. But still a top tier song nonetheless, and a brilliant work of art from Taylor. About the song, she says, Blank Space is one of the only songs I've ever written and that I started out writing as a complete joke. I think as a songwriter, you have to be pretty well aware of who you are as a person. But then I think you also have to be one eye on what people think of you and kind of what the general perception is of you out in the world. In the last couple of years, I noticed there has been sort of a pretty sensational fictionalization of my personal life. You know, they've kind of drawn on this profile of this girl who is a serial dater, jet setting around the world with her boyfriends, and she can get them, but she can't keep them because she's too emotional and she's needy. Then she gets her heart broken because they leave, so she goes to her evil lair and writes songs about it for revenge. It's just kind of this very complex profile of a person. I got to thinking about it and I started to think about how interesting that character is. If she were a real person who had all these qualities and attributes, what song would she write? And I'm pretty sure it would sound a little like this. So to explain to GQ in October 2015, some of the things I write about on a song like Blank Space are satire. You take your creative license and create things that are larger than life. You can write things like, I get drunk on jealousy, but you'll come back each time you leave because I'm a nightmare just like a daydream. That is not my approach to relationships, but it is cool to write the narrative of a girl who's crazy but seductive but glamorous but nuts but manipulative. That was the character I felt the media had written for me, and for a long time I felt hurt by it. I took it personally. As time went by, I realized it was kind of hilarious. That's the cool thing about this song is she took what the media said about her, flipped it on its head, and got a great hit song out of it. And yeah, the song just deserved all the awards, all the praise, and just what a brilliant move by her. And as someone said, Amanda BB on YouTube, kind of tried to do this with the Reputation album, but it just didn't really eat as much as she was able to do with this specific song. So on the nose, so on point, so ridiculously catchy. And now onto track 3, Style. So again, one of my favorites, one that I was pretty nervous for. I think that the production just isn't all the way there. I think you can really feel the absence of Max Martin and Shellback for the album. I'm pretty sure Shellback isn't one of the songs, but yeah, I can definitely feel Max Martin's absence. It just doesn't really feel out the way that it needs to be in my opinion. Like the guitar definitely sounds off. Again, there's some vocal inflections that really sound off to me as well. Intensity of the original is just not here for me. Again, it's something that I got used to, but it just doesn't hold a candle to what we originally had. With that being said, still a classic Taylor song. I love the chorus. I think it's catchy. It's aged well, of course, you know, about Harry Styles and everything. And I just realized at the end, whenever she's saying Take Me Home, she's referencing the One Direction album. So that was definitely some brilliance there, I will say. But yeah, I love the song still. Just the original was better in my opinion. About the song, she says, Style is a song that I wrote about kind of observing fashion trends and cultural trends and seeing how there are certain things that are constant. No, you may not wear a black dress for a while, but you're always going to go back to it. No one is going to say, oh, red lips are so 2 years ago. I started thinking about that in terms of a feeling. There are certain feelings like that. There are certain people who come in and out of your life, sort of like a trend who keeps coming back in style and never fades away. I'm pretty sure when we finished this song, I knew the record was done. Shake It Off and Style were the last 2 songs to be be written for 1989. This one has always been my secret favorite hope. I hope it ends up being a single. I hope people love it. I love how this song sounds the way that feeling felt. I love when the sound of a song matches the feeling that inspired it. This song just reminds me of driving in the middle of the night. I love comparing these timeless visuals with a feeling that never goes out of style. The song is about my life, and I never reveal who it's actually about, but the song kind of speaks for itself, and the way that the song sounded feels. That's all I need people to know about that story. And now to track 4, Out of the Woods. I think at times the vocals might sound a little too synthetic, over-processed, things like that, but overall, I think that this is a stunning re-recording. They're really able to capture the magic of the original. Shout out to Jack Antonoff, who has produced both. There's so much going on here with the production, and listening to this re-recording, I was truly able to appreciate that, so that's that. And then I also really like the songwriting. I like how intense it is. I love how the song progresses. The bridge, of course, is iconic. Definitely one of the staple bridges of this album for sure. I think there's really a lot to love about this version, so I'm happy with it overall. About the song She Says, one of the goals I set to accomplish when I wanted to make this album is I wanted to make sure these songs sounded exactly the way that these emotions felt when I felt them. The song is about the fragility and kind of breakable nature of some relationships. This was a relationship where I was kind of living day to day, wondering where it was going, if it was going to go anywhere, if it was going to end the next day. It was a relationship where you never kind of feel like you're standing on solid ground, and that kind of feeling brings on excitement, but also extreme anxiety. And this song sounds exactly like that frantic feeling of anxiety and questioning, but it stresses that even if a relationship is breakable and fragile and full of anxiety, it doesn't mean that it isn't worthwhile, exciting, beautiful, and all the things that we look for. It kind of conjured up all these feelings of anxiety I had in a relationship where everybody was watching, everybody was commenting on it. You're constantly just feeling like, are we out of the woods yet? What's the next thing gonna be? What's the next hurdle we're gonna have to jump over? Are we gonna make it to next week? It was interesting to write about a relationship where you're just honestly like, this is probably not gonna last, but how long is it gonna last? Fragile relationship, it doesn't mean that they're not supposed to happen. The whole time we were having happy memories or crazy memories or ridiculously anxious times. In my head, it was just like, are we okay yet? Are we there yet? Are we out of this yet? Taylor also told a fan that this is her favorite song on 1989. Now onto track 5, All You Had to Do Was Stay. So in terms of my thoughts on this song, it's never been one that I've really gone up for. I think that it's good for what it is, but in my opinion, it's probably her worst track 5, to be honest with you. So there wasn't a whole lot of anticipation going in this new version of it for me. I think that it's serviceable, but it's just kind of there to me on this album. I feel like the higher harmony wasn't loud enough, and that's really my only note. About the song She Says, this song was inspired by a weird dream that I had. It was one of those dreams where you have sort of social embarrassment happen and you can't stop it because you're in a sleep state. But basically this dream was about, I was trying to talk to someone, a very important person to me at the time, and all that would come out of my mouth instead of these normal words was this very high-pitched saying state. No matter what I was trying to say, that was the only sound that would come out of my mouth. I woke up incredibly weirded out and decided I was going to write it into a song. I'd already been working on this one sound, so it ended up being the perfect kind of weird vocal part that really completed a song that I'm so stoked about. Now onto track 6, Shake It Off. I have always loved this song. I know a lot of people don't go up for it. They think that it's her worst hits. I was never one of those people. Some people just hate fun, and that's never gonna be me. I love Mariah Carey's Rainbow album Down, as you guys know. And so the new Taylor's version of the song, my only beef with it is I feel like the bridge is just so incredibly off. I don't know what they did with the effects, and the vocal delivery is just not where it needs to be. Besides that, oh, she ate. This is such a fun song to listen to. I love that Haters Gonna Hate ad-lib towards the end. I think that the vocals sound comparable, if not better than the original. I think it's super catchy. I think it's super fun. I love to sing along to it. And I'm pretty sure that Yeah ad-lib towards the end is new. I believe I read that on Twitter somewhere. So yeah, I just love a good bop, and that's what Shake It Off has given me. So I'm happy with the new version for the most part. About the song She Says, the song is essentially written about an important lesson I learned that really changed how I live my life and how I look at my life. I really wanted it to be a song that made people want to get up and dance at a wedding reception from the first drum beat. I also wanted it to be a song that could help people get through something really terrible if they wanted to focus on the emotional profile on the lyrics. Because I've had people say things to me like, when my mom died, I listened to this song every single day to help me get out of bed. And then I've had people say, I danced to this drunk at a wedding reception. If they want to forget about the lyrics, they can. But if they want to hang on to every word, they can do that too. About the music video, it says, it takes a long time to figure out who you are and where you fit in the world. I'm putting myself in all these awkward situations where the dancers are incredible and I'm having fun with it, but I'm not fitting in. I'm doing the most beautiful things and I'm being embarrassingly bad at it. It shows you to keep doing you, keep being you, keep trying to figure out where you fit in this world, and eventually you will. Shake It Off is a song that I wrote about having to deal with on an everyday basis, just kind of how human beings treat each other. It's not just me who has to deal with it. It's everybody out there living their lives. The feeling of humiliation is the same when a girl has a rumor spread about her at school that isn't true. It's the same feeling I feel when I'm checking out at the grocery store and I read some crazy headline about me. And I think that the way we deal with all those issues is the same. You have to learn to have a sense of humor about things after a while, or else you'll just live in an endless sea of bitterness and why are people doing this to me? And rather than writing a song that was victimized in nature, I wanted to write a song that was joyful and gives people a way to cope with whatever ridiculousness life doling out to them, but also makes you want to dance. And I can really appreciate the messaging of this song. I think it's so important to not be a people pleaser, just because at the end that is to your own detriment. Do what makes you happy as long as it's not hurting anybody else, because not everybody's gonna like you, so why waste your your whole life trying to live up to what other people want you to be and just caring so much about other people's opinions and expectations. And I think you just need to learn who to trust, whose opinions to value, and just when to shake it off, like she says in the song. So that's something that resonates with me in that respect. Now on to track 7, I Wish You Would. This is a good song and I like the re-recording of it, simple as that. About the song, she says, I Wish You Would is a song that I wrote with Jack Antonoff, and it's the first song that we worked on together. I think for this song we wanted to create sort of a John Hughes movie visual with pining, and one person is over here and misses the other person but is too prideful to say it. Meanwhile, the other person is here and missing the same person. They're missing each other but they're not saying it. I had this happen in my life, and so I wanted to kind of narrate it in a very cinematic way where it's like you're seeing two scenes play out, and then in the bridge you're seeing the final scene where it resolves itself. So it says it's a crooked line in a straight line down. Makes you want to run and hide it, but it makes you turn right back around. So it's kind of that dramatic love that it's never really quite where it needs to be, and that tension that creates. In regards to the voice memo, it says, this is another way I've written songs recently. This is a song I did with Jack Antonoff, and Jack is one of my friends, and so we were hanging out and he pulled out his phone and goes, I made this amazing track the other day. It's so cool. I love these guitar sounds. And he played it for me, and immediately I could hear this finished song in my head. And I said, please let me have that. Let me play with this, send it to me. And so he sent it to me, and I was on tour, and this was me playing the track on my laptop, recording me singing the vocal into my phone. It ended up being a song called I Wish You Would, because Jack wrote back and said, I love that. So this is another way of writing. It's writing to track. And now onto track 8, Bad Blood. So I've always interpreted this basically as just being about a friendship going awry due to betrayal, and about the pain that causes, and about how we used to have so much love for each other, but now things have shifted and now we have bad blood and things just aren't ever going to be the same way that it was. The song is allegedly about Katy Perry, to which she wrote the song Swish Swish, which was horrible, did not do what it needed to do at all, and that is that. And regarding Bad Blood, this is a song that I've always enjoyed. I think over the years it's kind of got annoying to listen to, maybe just because it was so popular and everything, I will say that. But overall, I still do enjoy the song. I feel like this does not have the same bite as the original in terms of the vocal delivery, which was very important to me, and having that intensity there just doesn't really match it. Production doesn't really feel as full as I would like. And also that vocal fry, whenever she says you and I, bothers me so much every single time that I listen to the song. I still have not gotten used to it. But besides that, I'm able to appreciate it for what it is. I will say I really like the bridge of this song. But kind of going back really quickly to the sentiment of the song about friendship going awry and how painful that can be, that's definitely something that's relatable. I'm glad that she has a song about it. I feel like she's touched on this topic a few times throughout the discography. Quick thoughts on the remix of the song. Honestly, I don't really care for it much. I never really have. I think Kendrick has a great verse on it, but just the structure of it is different. I prefer the original. That's where I land on that, though he did do a good job in the new version. I know some people prefer the remix over the original. Let me know what you think down below in the comments. About the song, it says, for years I was never sure if we were friends or not. She would come up to me at award shows and say something and walk away, and I would think, are we friends, or did she just give me the harshest insult of my life? Then last year the other star crossed the line. She did something so horrible I was like, oh, we're just straight up enemies, and it wasn't even about a guy. It had to do with business. Basically tried to sabotage an entire arena tour. She tried to hire a bunch of people out from under me, and I'm surprisingly non-confrontational, and you would not believe how much I hate conflict. So now I have to avoid her. It's awkward and I don't like it. And now onto track 9, Wildest Dreams. So this re-recording, again, one that I was really nervous about, but she definitely delivered, and this was out months before the Taylor version, so I really had time to appreciate it. And yeah, she just really got it head on in terms of the production, which was very important to me. Vocals on here are top tier, so I think that it is comparable to the original for sure. Glad that she didn't botch it. Regarding this song, it says, I think the way I used to approach relationships was very idealistic. I used to go into them thinking maybe this is the one, we'll get married and have a family, this could be forever. Whereas now I go in thinking, how long do we have on the clock before something comes along and puts a wrench in it, or your publicist calls and says this is like an idea. Maddie Healy tease, but we move. Wildest Dreams is kind of a good example of the way that my outlook on love has changed over the years. I think as you get more experience under your belt, as you become disappointed a few times, you start to kind of think of things in more realistic terms. It's not like you need someone and that's it. If they like you and you like them, well, it's gonna be forever, of course. I don't really look at love like that anymore. I think the way I see love is kind of more fatalistic, which means to me that when I meet someone and we have a connection, the first thought I really have is, when this is over, I hope you think well of me. So the song is about having that immediate connection with someone, and these are my vivid thoughts right as I met him. Yeah, really interesting, kind of like Enchanted in that sense. Really magical piece overall with a very high cinematic production, and I really appreciate that. On to track 10, How You Get the Girl. Again, one that I feel like is very underrated in her discography. I think that it's a really fun listen. I like the way that the pre-chorus is set up. I like the chorus. It's a really great listen in my opinion. And so I wish that the guitars on here were louder. I don't think they're loud enough, but besides that, I enjoy it. Regarding the song, it says, How You Get the Girl is a song that I wrote about how when we're young, which is most of my friends and most of my peers are, a lot of the time we take for granted a really good relationship and let go of it and go out into the world and then realize that you want it back. This song is kind of an instruction manual for a guy who's broken up with his girlfriend and let 6 months go by and the lengths he will need to go to get her back. It's not going to be simple as just sending a text message. It's like, sup, miss you. It's not going to work. He will need to do all the things in the song. And now on to track 11, This Love. So I really enjoyed the original version of this. In terms of the new version, I just feel like her vocals are too forward on this version. version, like the production kind of overshadows her in the original version. Very cinematic, just the way everything builds is beautiful, and then the vocals are just too forward in the mix on this one, and that's my only beef with it. It just does not hit the same in my opinion. Regarding the song, it says, "This Love" is a song that I wrote very early on in the process, and it was the first time I've really started experimenting with these different vocal recording styles. In this case, I wanted it to sound kind of haunting, and so I've sung this song differently than I've sung most of my other songs. I recorded it differently. There are multiple vocals going throughout the entire song. It's about an experience I've had where if you truly care about someone and you know they're not fully ready to be in a relationship, you'll let them go. And it sucks to be the one who has to let something go and cut someone loose when you don't want to. But I think you have to be selfless in relationships when you know that it is not the right time, and if you make the decision and that person is supposed to be in your life, they'll come back. And this was the way that I felt when that came back around. When asked by Pop Crush which of the 1989 tracks she listened to the most on her iPod, Taylor replied, "I think the one that I kept going back to over and over again is a song called This Love." Actually, it's a song that I wrote by myself. It's kind of like hypnotic in a way, and it kind of is somewhat romantic and blissful and relaxing. As documented by a Tumblr user, she also said, "The last time I wrote a poem that ended up being a song, I was writing in my journal, and I was writing about something that had happened in my life. It was about a year ago, and I wrote this really short poem, and it said, this love is good, this love is bad. This love is alive back from the dead. These hands had to let it go free, and this love came back to me." And I just wrote it down and closed the book and put it back down on my nightstand, and all of a sudden in my head I just started hearing this melody happen, and then I realized it was going to be a song. And now to track 12, "I Know Places." So this has always been one of my favorite songs, and I feel like people never give it the credit that it deserves, oddly enough. And so this Taylor's version, I was very convinced that it was just not going to live up to the original, and I'm happy to report that I was wrong. Ryan's header did exactly what needed to be done, and I'm thankful. I'm thankful because I love this song so much. The intensity in the vocals isn't lost, which is very important to me. I just always really love the vocal delivery in the beginning when she says I. Like, it's just so cool the way that it is. The suspense in the song, just the intensity, the way that it all rolls throughout is super interesting. The songwriting on here is so cool, and the references that she makes to her life, I just really love it in regards to that. Production on here is phenomenal. I couldn't ask for more. One of my favorite songs in this new Taylor's version. I love the piano on here as well. About the song, it says, "I wrote I Know Places with Ryan Tedder, and it's the first song that I wrote with him. So I brought this idea in that I had kind of done very roughly on the piano and sent him this voice memo of me singing the chorus and kind of babbling my way through the verse, and he liked it and wanted to work on it. This is a song about how other people will really ruin a relationship if they get the chance to, and how the best way to go about starting a relationship might be to keep it secret as possible just because it's very fragile. I think this is a song that I wrote about sort of how covered it would have to be in order for me to make something work, essentially. I had this idea of, like, you know, when you're in love, along the lines of Out of the Woods, it's very precious, it's fragile. As soon as the world gets a hold of it, whether it's your friends or people around the town hear about it, it's kind of like the first thing people want to do when they hear that people are in love. It's just kind of try to ruin it. I was kind of in a place where I was like, no one is going to sign up for this. There are too many cameras pointed at me. There are too many ridiculous elaborations on my life. It's just not ever going to work. But I decided to write a love song, just kind of like, what would I say if I met someone really awesome and they were like, hey, I'm worried about all this attention you get. So I wrote this song called I Know Places about it, like, hey, I know places we can hide, we cannot run them. I'm so happy that it sounds like the urgency that it sings about. And now on to track 13, Clean. So this is the closer for the standard edition of the album. I will say that this is one of her most underrated closers across all of her albums. I'm glad that this is such a fan favorite and people have taken it and given it so much meaning to their lives, and I think that it's just a really brilliant track. With this one, again, very apprehensive about how the re-recording was going to turn out, but luckily they did an amazing job on it. Shout out to Imogen Heap and Taylor for what they were able to bring together on this masterpiece. I love the lyrics about it and the sentiment. My favorite lyric on the song was whenever she says, "The drought was the very worst when the flowers that we grown together died of thirst. It was months and months of back and forth. You're still all over me like a wine-stained dress I can't wear anymore." Oh, poetry. It was something serious in the studio. What a masterpiece that they crafted. About the song, it says, "Clean has a very different meaning to fans who've had struggles with mental illness, addiction, and abuse. It's about being quite literally clean." While Taylor didn't think of that meaning originally, she immediately accepted the fandom-wide meaning when she heard it. Taylor gave several inspirational speeches before performing Clean during her 1989 world tour. Taylor said the following before performing Clean in Tokyo on May 5th. "Clean, I wrote as I was walking out of Liberty in London. Someone I used to date, it hit me that I had been in the same city as him for 2 weeks, and I hadn't thought about it. When it did hit me, it was like, oh, I hope he's doing well, and nothing else. And you know how it is when you're going through heartbreak. A heartbroken person isn't like any other person. Their time moves at a completely different pace than ours. It's this mental, physical, emotional ache, and feeling so conflicted, nothing distracts you from it. Then time passes, and the more you live your life and create new habits, you get used to not having a text message every morning saying, hello, beautiful, good morning. You get used to not calling someone at night to tell them how your day was. You replace these old habits with new habits, like texting your friends in a group chat all day and planning fun dinner parties and going out on adventures with your girlfriend. Then all of a sudden one day you're in London and you realize you've been in the same place as your ex for 2 weeks and you're fine. You hope he's fine. First thought that came to my mind was, I'm finally clean."
Okay, so for the next two songs, I guess I just forgot to talk about them. I skipped over my notes or something. I can't find the footage of me talking about them, so this voiceover will have to do. Wonderland, I think this is a cute song. The pre-chorus is good. You Are in Love mid-song, and it doesn't help that it's about Lena Dunham, who is a horrible person, and so that is that. It's not as bad as I remember whenever I did re-listen to it, but it's just never really been something that I enjoyed, so it is a skip for me on the album. And back to the video.
New Romantics, I think that this is a great song. I feel like this is like the Cruel Summer of 1989. People just wanted a lot more for the song on the charts and commercial and things like that. Cruel Summer is Cruel Summer for a reason. I like this song. Maybe a bit overrated. That might be unpopular, but that's my opinion. My favorite lyric is whenever she says, "It's poker, he can't see it in my face, but I'm about to play my ace. We need love, but all we want is danger. We team up, then switch sides like a record changer." And I also really love the chorus as well. She says, "'Cause baby, I could build a castle out of all the bricks they threw at me. And every night is like a battle, but every night with us is like a dream." About the song, Taylor says, "People will say, let me set you up with someone, and I'm just sitting there saying, that's not what I'm doing. I'm not lonely, I'm not looking. They just don't get it. I've learned that just because someone is cute and wants to date you, there's not a reason to sacrifice your independence and allow everyone to say whatever they want about you. I'm not doing that anymore. It takes someone really special for me to undergo the circumstances I have to go through to experience a date. I don't know how I would ever have another person in my world trying to have a relationship with me or a family." And now on to the vault songs. Now I did do a reaction to all the vault songs. If you guys want to check it out, I'll have a card on the screen right here. My Taylor Swift playlist will be at the end and link down in the description if you want to check that out. But on first is going to be track number 17, Slut. So with this song, I thought she could go either two ways of it. I thought that we were going to get this ballad about how the media slut shamed her and just what she's been through in regards to that, or I thought it was going to be this great up-tempo fun song. We got neither of those. It's this very great mid-tempo dream pop song. Really shocked me, but I thoroughly enjoy it. I can appreciate the lyrics. I can appreciate the sentiment. I think it flows super well. I think that it is something different for her. So I applaud what she was able to do with the song overall. Unexpected, but in the best way. The song kind of reminds me of The Archer, and just a really great track overall that I think deserves the praise that it's been getting. About the song, she says, "The song Slut is a song we wrote for 1989, and in it, I kind of cheekily planned the discussions at the time of my life around my dating life, and that's not the only time on 1989 that I've done that. I've done that on Blank Space. And when I came down to having to pick songs for the album, I thought, okay, well, I'm going to choose Blank Space, and unfortunately had to make some tough decisions in terms of what to put on the track list. But I love the song because I think it's really dreamy. And I always saw 1989 as a New York City album, but this song to me was always California. Maybe that was another reason that it didn't make the cut, because sometimes thematically I just have these weird little rules in my head. But I'm so happy that it's finally going to be something you guys hear, because I've always been proud of it. I've always wanted to come out in the world, and now it is. So yeah, definitely one of my favorite vault songs. I wonder if she's going to do a music video for this one. We'll just have to wait and see. Now on to track 18, Say Don't Go. I feel like this is cute for what it is. It was written with Diane Warren. More popular than I would have expected. I just feel like it's kind of a snooze fest for me. Not a horrible song, but you know, there's better. And I just feel like the chords are very reminiscent of Clean. Should have switched up the chord progressions there, but that's my thoughts. And now on to Now That We Don't Talk. This is my favorite vault song, Oh They Chewed. And I just think it's a super cool song to listen to. And it's actually a shorter song, and you know, I can appreciate it for what it is in that respect. But the subject matter of it, I think kind of, you know, gets me in there more than anything else. Just because she's kind of talking about being in a relationship, that relationship ends. So now I'm seeing you do all these different things, and I kind of miss how you used to be. And I have my own opinions on what you're doing, but you know, I don't really have a say in it now that we're not in a relationship. And it's just funny how people's relationships with each other change over time and all that stuff. Like, relationship dynamics are always just really interesting to me. So the way that she was able to go throughout that in the song was really brilliant. I really enjoyed listening to it. I love how it flows. I love the vocal delivery. I love the production. 10s across the board. Best vault song by far, and just can't get enough of it. About the song, she says, "Now That We Don't Talk is one of my favorite songs that was left behind. It was so hard to leave it behind, but I think we wrote it a little bit towards the end of the process, and we couldn't get the production right at the time. But we had tons of time to perfect the production this time around and figure out what we wanted the song to sound like. I think it's the shortest song I've ever had, but I think it packs a punch. I think it really goes in. For the short amount of time we have, I think it makes its point." Now on to Suburban Legends. I saw someone say that this was giving Midnight's Reject, and Reject for a reason. Did not need it on the album. Not a horrible song, but just kind of mediocre in comparison to all the other vault songs and the original songs in the album for that matter. And now on to the final track, Is It Over Now. So this is actually her most recent Billboard Hot 100 #1 hit. And I was right about the parallels with Out of the Woods, so I'm happy about that. I really appreciate how cinematic the production is. I can appreciate the lyrics and the parallels going on there. I like the vocals on here. Regarding the song, she says, "Is It Over Now" is a song I wanted to end the album with because I think it's kind of a fun play in words of like, is the album over now? I always saw the song as sort of a sister to Out of the Woods and I Wish You Would. I kind of saw those songs as similar, so unfortunately when we were making decisions of what to put on 1989, what to leave behind, I had to make some tough choices, and now it doesn't matter anymore because you guys are going to hear all the songs. I'm so happy the song is out. I really love the Let's Fast Forward to 300 Take Out Coffees Later. That session I was just feeling like headbanging to it every time it comes on. Hope you agree. Also wanted to say, can't speak on Sweeter Than Fiction because I don't have the target version on the album. I don't really remember liking the song that much anyways, and it doesn't really feel like a loss to me. And now on to my overall thoughts on this album. So for me, I think that this album is like the equivalent of the prank whenever they move the furniture 2 inches to the left. Overall, there's some vocal deliveries that just don't really land for me, and the conviction and the sharpness is just not there that I would like. Kind of a similar problem that I faced with Speak Now, Taylor's version, and the production is just not full enough most of the time, or there's little quirks there. And just because I've listened to 1989 for so long and I've always loved the album, it was one of my pop Bibles, extremely nervous for the new version of it. I was like, she cannot mess this up. And I don't feel like it completely lives up to the original version, but I don't think that it's bad enough to where I would refuse to listen to it. I think that is something I will listen, I will get used to, but the original's crown will forever stay intact, and that's that. I hope that one day Taylor does get her masters back to her original recordings and everything, so I can listen to the original without guilt, because if she does, then I will definitely revert to that and everything. But yeah, that's kind of like my overall thoughts. It wasn't incredibly disappointing. It wasn't something that blew me out of the water. Vault songs on here were good, but I don't think that they were as strong as her Red Vault songs. I think that those were the strongest. So I will definitely say that. But overall, I really enjoy this for what it is. I like the new album cover. I can appreciate the effort that she put into the era. My thoughts on her re-recordings overall, how I would rank it: Red, Fearless, 1989, Speak Now, right at the bottom. Speak Now, new version. I did a whole review on it. You guys can go check that out. And I would probably rank the Vault tracks Red, 1989, and then Speak Now, and then Fearless, in terms of like which ones that I go to the most. And yeah, let me know what you guys think down below in the comments on this album. Do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? Let me know all the things, but that's just my opinion. And sorry for this review being so delayed. As you guys saw, I had other videos in the past few weeks with new releases that I was trying to get out, and then I took longer to write this video and everything, and I wanted to have it right because this is a video I've been looking forward to doing for a long time, because this version was delayed over and over and over again. So whenever I finally do it, I was like, I'm gonna do it right. So I really wanted to take my time with it, so I apologize for the delay. I'm normally a lot more timely with my album reviews for Taylor and things like that. I appreciate everyone who's watched it and made it to this point in the video, I will say. If you guys did want to see more videos on Taylor Swift, I will have a card on the screen right here that takes you to everything that I've done. At the end of this video, it will also be linked, as well as down below in the description. That's gonna be it for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you did enjoy it, give it a like down below. It helps me a lot in YouTube algorithm. I very much appreciate that. You can subscribe to see more videos like this. If you have the bell, get notifications for when I post and have some brand new videos come out. First link down below in the description will be my second channel. And so I've started uploading a lot of my TikToks on there. Normally like 3 to 4 a day, because I feel like any more would just be quite overwhelming, and some stuff I just want to keep exclusive to TikTok. But you guys can definitely check me out on there. I've been on fire. I've been uploading every day for like a week straight, so definitely check me out on there, as well as my TikTok, which is linked down below in the description. I have made a backup TikTok account just in case anything happens to the main, so go follow that if you wish. I'm going to try to be active on that one. I'm also going to have my Twitter. I do have a backup Twitter. I've had it for years now, and I used to have it in my descriptions. I took it out. I can't really remember why that is back, so you guys can also follow me on my backup Twitter account if you want. I try to be active on that one, and my main Twitter account as well. I love Twitter. I use it every day. I also have my Instagram and my Spotify if you guys are interested in that, as well as a link to stream this album. And lastly, I'm going to have links to educate you guys on important situations. Free Palestine, very important. If you guys want to donate to the cause, I'll have some links down below in the description. But thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next one.